Gypsy Rose Blanchard and Casey Anthony are one and the same. Gypsy Rose Blanchard was 23 when she murdered her mother. Casey Anthony was 22 when she allegedly murdered her daughter. Gypsy baked brownies right after her mom was murdered. After Gypsy baked those brownies, she went to a hotel with her boyfriend and was eating the brownies and told him, "I would love for you to eat me the same way you ate those brownies." There's also video footage of that, just so y'all know. Casey Anthony went and partied after her daughter was allegedly murdered by her. Gypsy Rose Blanchard searched up how to murder her mom, and Casey Anthony did the same for her daughter, allegedly. Neither one of them take any accountability for what they did. Both of them act like it's everybody else's fault, and they're both on TikTok trying to be advocates. So if you don't see the similarities between Gypsy Rose Blanchard and Casey Anthony, it's because you don't want to see them, not because they're not there. Everybody knows Gypsy Rose Blanchard had a chromosome disorder, which is 121.q1 microdeletion. All the issues that her mom was treating her for stems from that. Did her mom embellish it? Yes. But Gypsy Rose was 23 years old at the time that she murdered her mom. So it's not as though she was 16, 17, and that's a big misconception. And the fact that she was older than Casey Anthony, that should tell you something. So I think people need to really start paying attention to that, because they are way more similar than one would think. And there's even more similarities. And if you want me to do another video with more similarities, let me know.
Still talking about the Menendez brothers, right? We're back and forth. They may or may not get out of prison, right?
Look how disinterested she is.
Right, you have 2 books, you've got TV shows, you've got so much going on. Would you recommend those guys dive into the world of entertainment right out of prison?
Right? I would say
the world wants it. I will say that. We want it.
The world wants it, but I will say the one thing that I kind of wish I did was take the time away from the media.
But you're still all over the media.
And give myself time to adjust. I didn't do that, and I got overwhelmed by it.
Got it.
It's a lot to handle. So I would say if they ever do get released, take a break, really kind of like work on yourself, get your feet on the ground, and then if that's something you want to pursue, go right ahead.
Let me ask you this: will Hollywood embrace them? Like
I think Hollywood would embrace them. There's so much support on that I have seen already.
For them, we know what they did. There's no dispute what they did, but why they did it.
Exactly.
You think Hollywood would totally embrace them?
I think that
look how
Hollywood would
disinterested.
embrace them. I just, like I said before, I hope that the critics won't bring them down.
Yeah. Would you watch?
I would watch.
You would watch? I love it. I love it. Okay. One more thing. So Lyle was in a relationship, right? Eric, well, they were both married, actually. Lyle's relationship, I guess, ended. We're hearing reports. Do you recommend that these guys, like maybe Lyle, get in a relationship, or should these guys just focus on living their free life, so to speak, or should they embrace
She recommends
being in a
cheating.
relationship?
She likes
I would say
cheating.
embrace being in a relationship if it's with the right person. I found my soulmate 7 years ago, and that always stuck with me, and he's been my biggest supporter, and so I say if it's true love, it's true love.
If it's true love? What about having kids right out of prison? Because you're kind of, how many years have you been out? How long have you been out?
I've been out a year.
You've been out a year, and now you've already got a kid.
Yes.
Right? Do you recommend these guys, like, would that ground them to have children?
I think that children are a blessing no matter what. I think that for me, the timing, it was unexpected.
But you were going to a fertility doctor.
It just happened. Well,
And so
that's what happens when you,
I know.
that happens. Biology 101, right? Yeah.
So I would say, if they want kids, by all means, live your life. You have to your whole life pretty much. Go live your life.
Yeah.
Have kids. Get married. Do whatever you want.
Do whatever.
Yeah,
Should
sleep
the
around,
DA
cheat,
release
fornicate.
them?
Yeah, that's because that's
Just
who she
point
is.
Blank. We know what we know.
Right.
We know the facts, but we also know that these guys, they had it rough, right?
Sure. No.
And they served a
Sure. Do you guys see how disinterested she is? She's writing, she's looking around, she doesn't really care with her little blue Sharpie. She can't really spell that well or write, so I'm trying to figure out what exactly it is that she's doing. But again, if it's not about her, she shows that she's disinterested. And to see her say she wanted to be an advocate and the way she showed disinterest, but also she used a man that is autistic with a low IQ that was collecting a permanent disability check. So would we really think she cares? And the fact that she's like, oh, you know, it was unexpected, but girl, you were seeing a fertility doctor and you admitted that. So was it unexpected? She's like, live your life, do what you want to do. You were cheating on your husband. You had a baby on your husband. And you're saying, do what you want to do, live your life, and have the nerve to have hope on your necklace? Girl, we hope you get off the internet, and I hope that's the symbolism of that hope necklace, child. That's what it needs to be, girl. You're a murderer. Also, I think we should spin a block on the past TMZ that she did when she said she knew nothing about this.
It's one of the biggest stories in the world right now. The Menendez brothers. Have you been following that at all, or?
Not a whole lot. I'm not very educated in their case or anything.
So they went to prison for murdering their parents, and nobody denies that they did it, but it's coming out and it's pretty credible. A lot of people feel that they were abused by their parents. So now the DA is reviewing their case, and they're possibly going to get released. And I kind of wanted your opinion on that.
Okay. Well, I mean, I really can't speak on the specifics of that case. I'm not really educated in that case. But I will say that I'm an advocate for abuse victims in general, and I'm all about prison reform.
So if that happened, though, if their parents did abuse them, I mean, do you support their release? You think?
Well, I don't think either of us are educated enough on this subject to really give a great.
Sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, I agree with Ken. You know, I think that if their case is being reviewed, then hopefully something can be done. I think that abuse victims need to be advocated for more.
Yeah, Kim Kardashian actually supported that, and she defended that, and she's supporting their release. I mean, she's
Child, I can't even sit it through
pushback.
this.
You don't think that's fair at all? And
I mean, Kim is
hard
a wise
to say.
woman. Kim is a wise woman.
She is.
She makes good decisions.
She is.
In her prison reform era,
Okay.
I think she's doing good in that era.
What advice would you have for them? Very simple. They spent 30 years in prison. What advice would you have for them when they get out? You dealt with it, obviously.
It's very difficult to come out to a world that has changed so much, even in the time that I spent. So, I mean, reacclimating is a difficult thing. So I would say take your time and adjust properly and get therapy because you'll need it in
Get
this
therapy.
world day and age.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy.
Y'all cannot tell me that this is not a sham. Look how she did that. She looked disinterested in the first one. The second one, she really wasn't interested because they weren't speaking about her. She didn't want to respond about anything. She didn't want to say whether they should be out or they shouldn't. She said, she advocates, but she don't know about the biggest case that's happening right now. Then are you really an advocate? She's just such a fraud. That girl ain't nothing but a fraud. Child. Well, there you have it. You got something to compare.
The most hated mom in America wants you, and she wants to be your lawyer. Actually, Casey Anthony wants to be your legal advocate because she's not a member of the bar. Let me just start with your reaction to this. I mean, jaw dropper, the video, the promises, the legal advocate, all of it.
Well, it is, but Casey Anthony, she's the perpetual victim, but she's always out there, pitching her own story, her own sad story. And here she is talking about being thrust into this again and using it to better other people. It's just a bunch of BS. And it's Casey Anthony's bid to remain relevant. She's always got a little hook. She disappears for a little while, but then she always shows up again. And this one is all about money.
This is the reason why listening comprehension is so important. I am speaking about the similarities of their behaviors. Okay. Secondly, Gypsy said it was self-defense, but she wasn't defending herself. Her mom was actually very sickly when she had her mom murdered. In fact, her mom had a lock on the medicine cabinet because Gypsy was stealing the medication. There's a pattern in behaviors. That's why they both did the murder allegedly and went and had fun. They both came out saying they were going to be advocates. Like that, are you not seeing the pattern in behavior? Like the fact that they Googled how to unalive somebody, like all of those are patterns. I'm not saying it's the exact same. I am saying they are the same type of person. What is so hard with understanding that? People that cannot keep friendships, you need to be leery of, period. I used to think this was not a true statement, but it is. All of my friendships have been long-term friendships because I'm a ride or die type of friend. If you screw my friend over, you screw me over. And if my friend got beef with you, I got beef with you. I'm not a clingy friend, so if you don't hear from me for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, life is life. But anytime I get back with you, it's like time never went by. I'm never competing with my friends. I want my friends to do as good or better than me. I always want to see them win, no matter what. Gifting is my love language. So I show people I love them by gifting them things that I know they'll love. When you realize that people are trying to compete with you, that is not your friend. If they have to make themselves look better by lying to try to make you look worse, that is not a friend. A lot of people are narcissistic and they try to put that on you and your friendship. But when you realize people are toxic, you need to get away from them ASAP. And you don't need to give them any passes for being toxic. Because the fact that they can't keep friends shows you you aren't the problem, it's them. Your friendships and relationships are a direct reflection of you. So be as picky with your friendships and relationships as you would be with anything you put on, you wear, anything. It needs to be that important. Protect your energy, protect your peace, protect you. Y'all, Jay-Z is going ham on this attorney. This creator did this video, and I want to show you guys her page. Her name is I Am Not a Lawyer, but she did a breakdown on this video on Jay-Z. And this attorney, what's his name again? Child, y'all see this. Just watch this because it's wild. But if y'all are on TikTok, go follow her. And I think she might be here on YouTube. I got to find to see if she is. But y'all go watch her. But anyway, watch this video because she went in.
I'm not a lawyer, but Jay-Z filed a lawsuit today against the Jane Doe that was suing him and Diddy for SA. And the suit says that Jane Doe has now, quote, voluntarily admitted directly to representatives of Mr. Carter that the story brought before the world and in court and on global television was just that, a false, malicious story. She has admitted that Mr. Carter did not assault her and that indeed it was Busby himself whom she met for the first time at a coffee shop in Houston on the day of her maliciously false NBC interview, who pushed her to go forward with the false narrative of the assault by Mr. Carter in order to leverage a maximum payday. Let me give you a recap of this lawsuit. So the lawsuit was filed in Alabama, which is apparently where the Jane Doe lives, and it's filed against Jane Doe, Tony Busby, and another attorney named David Fortney, as well as the Busby law firm. Now, at the beginning of the suit, Jay-Z and his attorney say that Jane Doe appears to be suffering from personal and financial hardship. She lost custody of her children, and her parents, who on information and belief support her, recently filed for bankruptcy protection. Now, why are they putting out her parents' business? The lawsuit goes on to say that, quote, a simple Google or other public record search of Doe, well, I see they figured out who she is, would have cast doubt on her credibility by revealing that, among other things, less than 90 days before sending the demand letter, she had been in court on mental health related issues in connection with her second-degree assault charge and had her bail revoked for failing a drug test. She has several mental health disorders and takes multiple medications according to testimony from her psychiatrist. And she's made 3 other assault allegations which were either dropped or dismissed by courts. This is why I don't play with lawsuits, because y'all not going to be telling people what medical professionals have said about me. Okay? The lawsuit then details the timeline of the allegations, some of the claims Jane Doe made during that NBC interview, as well as what they say were inconsistencies with her story. Now, from there, the lawsuit then focuses on what was happening around the time of the voluntary dismissal for the assault lawsuit. Quick context, as most of us know, Tony Busby is not admitted to practice in the Southern District of New York. This was one of the first things that Jay-Z's attorney, Alex Spiro, highlighted when he was brought on the assault case. The judge presiding over that case then told Tony Busby that he had until February 14th to file proof of his admission to the Southern District of New York. But the day before that February 14th deadline, Tony Busby learned that his application for admission to Southern District of New York had been denied because he had already been filing cases in that court without being admitted. So they were like, we not finna admit you now. Now, according to this Jay-Z lawsuit, after Busby learned that he was not going to be admitted to the Southern District of New York, he had David Fortney, the other attorney that's named in this suit, to meet with Jane Doe, and he told her that, quote, the case against Mr. Carter needed to be dismissed as Mr. Carter had made threats against Doe's life and it was too dangerous to continue with the case. Now, Jay-Z and his team say none of that is true. Jay-Z never threatened Jane Doe. And the only reason that David Fortney told Jane Doe that is because he and Busby needed to get her to agree to withdraw the false case, or else they could face punishment in court for their actions in filing a false case in a district that Busby wasn't even admitted to practice in, which would have jeopardized their ability to continue with the more than 20 other cases that they had already filed. And that's why, according to them, on the evening of Friday, February 14th, Jane Doe quietly and voluntarily dismissed the lawsuit against Jay-Z with prejudice. But then it goes on to say that the threats and extortion did not end with the dismissal of Jane Doe's fraudulent lawsuit. There's more. It says on Friday, February 28th, 2025, that was a couple days ago, after Jane Doe admitted that everything was a lie and that Busby was aware it was a lie, a prominent New York attorney representing Tony Busby and David Fortney called one of Jay-Z's lawyers and threatened that if Jay and his team filed anything about Jane Doe admitting everything was a lie and that Jay never assaulted her, Busby and his team in return would, quote, issue a public statement on behalf of Jane Doe saying that she was, 1, being harassed by Mr. Carter's people since she dropped the lawsuit, and 2, that she only dropped the lawsuit because she was afraid for her life, and that the allegations against Mr. Carter in the drop lawsuit were in fact all true. This is a mess. So because of all of that, Jay-Z is now suing Jane Doe, Tony Busby, David Fortney, and the Busby law firm for malicious prosecution because he says they filed this lawsuit with the intent to extort him. And after realizing that their plan would not succeed, they quietly dismissed the lawsuit. And it also notes that the lawsuit was resolved in Mr. Carter's favor without settlement or compromise. So if you were wondering if Jay-Z paid her out, according to them, no. Cause of action number 2 is abuse of process. And then cause of action number 3 is civil conspiracy because Jay says that this team of people all work together and knowingly and willfully conspire to maliciously prosecute and abuse the legal process against him. And then the last cause of action is defamation, which is specifically against Jane Doe. And this goes to what Jay and his team say are for the false statements that Jane Doe knowingly made against him. And they specify that these allegations that she made against Jay were crimes of moral turpitude, which is key in a defamation lawsuit because what that means is she falsely accused Jay-Z of a crime that everyone across the board believes is bad. And of course, in this instance, that alleged crime was the assault of a 13-year-old, which Jay and his team say has subjected him to disgrace, ridicule, public hatred, and contempt. And so that's the lawsuit. Child, it seems like Jay-Z is coming for everything. And now, according to TMZ, Jane Doe has filed some legal docs somewhere where she is saying that Jay-Z was intimidating and threatening her, and her parents were even approached by some people. How y'all feel?
Black History Month is over, but I saw this and I think it is really good for you guys to see. It was kind of inspiring for me last night, so let's check it out. The Confederacy was so cocky, they let a black woman walk right into their White House, and she played them. Meet Mary Bowser, the spy who finessed Jefferson Davis and helped end the Civil War. Mary Bowser was born into slavery in Virginia, but she didn't stay there because the family that owned her secretly freed her. And then they sent her to the North to get an education. But Mary wasn't just smart, she was strategic. When the Civil War broke out, she pulled the ultimate power move. She went back to the South. She pretended to be enslaved again and got herself a job inside the Confederate White House. Now, here's where it gets wild. The Confederates assumed that she was illiterate, so they were openly discussing war strategies and things like that in front of her. And they also left classified documents laying around. But Mary, see, she had a photographic memory. She soaked up all the details and passed it on to Union spies. And that helped crush the Confederate war effort from the inside. Jefferson Davis eventually realized that somebody was leaking info. But guess what? He never suspected the harmless black woman working in his home. Mary Bowser ran circles around that man. And after the war, she vanished. The U.S. government erased her records to protect her. But her impact was beyond legendary. So why is this not in every history book? This woman outsmarted the entire Confederacy, and it's time we give her her flowers. Say her name, Mary Bowser. All right, y'all. It's been a crazy week so far, and the week just started. So y'all better buckle up because we should be ready for some real shenanigans. But Gypsy, child, Jay-Z, child. Y'all drop your comments down below. Again, I really want you guys to know that I really appreciate each and every one of you. It's been a crazy last couple of months, and I just want you guys to know that I appreciate you guys. Bye bye for now.